Hi, this is Dr. Catherine Van Osselt. This week, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Carol Messmore from Capella University. She has over 20 years of experience in marriage and family therapy, and we'll find out a bit more about her life experiences and what wisdom she has to share. We'll talk about truly being heard, finding the good in others, family dynamics, which includes repairing relationships. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'm grateful that you're here. Dr. Carol Messmore, I am so excited to have you here. We have worked together for approximately 15 years. You are a marriage and family therapist. You have your doctorate degree in marriage and family therapy as well. I'm a counselor educator, so that's why I goofed that up a little bit. I'm so excited to speak to you because throughout all of the years, I have always been very impressed with your ability to maintain such a high level of rigor. And then you are so kind and empathic and warm and caring. And I feel like sometimes those are hard to manage in different roles in life. You've been the faculty chair, you were program director, people adore and love you. And so when I was thinking about who I really wanted to hear from and hear some of the wisdom that you've gained through your experiences, you were one of the very first people that I thought of. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, I have to say I'm very humbled to be here. I've been a long-time admirer of yours as well, and so enjoyed working with you. And we've managed to walk the path, I think, both of us, with doing what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it.
Yeah. I have some questions here that are on my mind, but obviously if we go a different direction, that's okay too. We'll just stay in the moment. The first thing that I am curious about is, as you reflect on your own life, how did you learn to actually listen to people? I mean, I know professionally you were trained, but I'm also curious, where did you get that mentorship or where did that understanding of people come for you?
I have to say it really came from my father. I was the youngest child in the family, and some really interesting family dynamics. So I was never really listened to, which I think babies, if you look in the sibling orders, they're not always paid attention to. But my father always made time. My father was an academic, and back in the days of ivory towers and sabbaticals and publish or perish. And so he was very busy and often away, but he would always take time to listen to me if I needed to talk to him, and would send me postcards when he was traveling. And whatever conference, he'd find postcards from the city he was in. And so I had a collection of postcards. So I think that taught me the value of having someone hear you and make you feel like what you're saying is important. And my father was disabled in a time when there was a lot of discrimination, and you could openly discriminate against those who have disabilities. And trying to get tenure, to get teaching jobs was very difficult. So he became an activist for the disability community, and that taught me even more. So he taught me to value difference and that everyone has a seat at the table. The way you make relationships is through respecting each other's difference and valuing each other's difference, not through power, not through privilege, but through mutual respect. And so I saw that, and this was, a long time ago, where professors used to have their graduate students around the dinner table and coming in on the weekends. They were our babysitters and things like that. So I saw all different kinds of people in my home, and it really taught me a lot about how to make relationships and what was important. So I think, Gregory Bateson always said that you were looking for the difference that makes a difference. So as a therapist, when I'm in the room, I'm looking for the difference that makes a difference. As an educator, when I'm in the room, I'm looking for the difference that makes a difference. So my father really taught me to look for the difference that makes a difference, because each person is unique, and to value that. So I think that's how I learned to listen. at first. And then, of course, my training taught me the foundational clinical skills, how to engage and listen clinically. And I think the genuineness of therapists makes a difference. If we look at the common factors research on effective therapy, it has nothing to do with your degree title. It has nothing to do with the type of therapeutic model you use in the room. It has to do with the relationship between the therapist and the client. That's the biggest common factor, or the most important common factor in determining effective outcomes. So it's all about relationships. So I think that's how I learned to continue trying to establish respectful relationships and find something in common or of interest, so everyone at the table is sharing and feels like their voice is heard and is important.
So that common thread, though, really from feeling heard as the one who was not heard, the youngest, to ensuring that everyone feels heard. That also makes me think about the whole reason why I wanted to start the podcast was also just to hear those unique stories and experiences.
Yeah.
Right. That bring value to the table, I guess.
Right. Because often some of the most valuable stories are not heard.
Yes. Yeah. My hope was to shine light on people that maybe aren't in the limelight as much, but have equal value.
Wow. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. So given that, because you have had so many years of experience with clients, with families, and you also work as a supervisor and a counselor educator. And so I feel like it gives you this unique opportunity to expand your window into humanity because you have access to so many different stories. And so, fully protecting the ethics of individuals. What kind of insights have you gained through hearing so many iterations of just people sharing their stories? What themes or patterns might you be able to share with others that we could connect with?
No one is ever what they seem on the outside.
Oh.
So it's important to look past, just like you can't judge a book by its cover. Although, how do you pull the book off the shelf? Oh, the cover looks interesting.
At the cover.
Yeah. And the story may not be your cup of tea, or it might be. So our clients, our students, our colleagues, is we have to look past what we see, because sometimes that's who they think they're supposed to be. But when we look inside, we find who they really are and what makes the most meaning or sense to them. That's what I've learned. It's the positivity of humanity is that if you look inside everyone, you find good. People do the best they can with what they have at the time. I always worked a lot with child welfare. And so I had a lot of clients who were involved with child abuse or neglect.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to hurt their child.
Yeah.
They just didn't know what else to do. And humans are very logical. So when an adult slaps a young child, it made sense at the moment that they raised their arm and they slapped. But once that happened, then the panic in their head, it didn't make sense. It didn't. Right. So they didn't mean to do it. It doesn't make it right. But as a therapist, it helped me to understand that my clients were doing the best they could. And how could we change the future? I'm also a solution-focused therapist. So I know we can't change the past. We can't change the fact that a child was abused, is now in foster care. The parent is trying to get the child back. What can we do differently in the future so that that parent has more resources? And I have found that they want them. They want them. There's only one case in 20 years, only one case where a parent really did not want to not do things differently.
Wow.
And the children love their parents.
Yeah.
They love their parents. So if we can maintain the family structure in a healthy way, that's the best thing for our society.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It just taught me to look inside each person and not make, no matter what what the report says, what the intake form says, there's a reason that it made sense to them to do what they did, and for us to not make judgment and to allow them to share their story with us so that we can help them move forward in a different way. So it's healthier for everybody.
Yeah. Makes me think of judge less, listen more,
Yeah.
to gain understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so that was going to be one of my questions, is because I know that you have so much experience with not only families, but also early childhood experiences. What other thoughts or insights might you have around that specific topic?
I would say that being a parent is incredibly hard.
Yes.
And you don't get that out of the parenting magazine or all the, the happy shows on television. It's incredibly hard to be in a relationship. It's incredibly hard to maintain your partnership with someone while you're also developing this new identity of being a parent. And it's incredibly hard to be in a family. And somehow people don't understand that you've got to work at all of these relationships. It just doesn't come naturally. So I work now with a lot of couples. I'm not doing infant mental health. And there's just the belief that, oh, you meet, you fall in love, and it just stays like that for the rest of your life. Even though everything else has changed, you've moved cities, you've added children, family members have passed, jobs have changed. So the relationship is stagnant while everything else has changed. So it's helping clients understand that it's important to change along with everything else, because that's how you remain stable. A basic systemic concept is, in order to be stable, you have to change. If you think of an air conditioner, if it's 75 degrees in a room, I'm in Florida, so I think of an air conditioner, 75 degrees, my air conditioning kicks on and kicks off, kicks on and kicks off to maintain a stable 75 degrees all day. So it's changing. The system is changing in order to be stable. So we too have to change in order to keep our life stable. And by stable, I mean, not in chaos,
Yeah.
and as healthy as we can be.
So two thoughts. One is, because I don't want people to have the final takeaway be, well, then don't have children, because it is hard. Because it's hard, but it's also the most rewarding experience. It fills, or at least for me, it has filled me more than I ever could have imagined. I didn't know this world that I was going to have through the difficulties. Which brings me to future question. But please help me. So when you talk about change in a relationship, provide some examples of what you see as healthy change to maintain that stability.
Yeah. So healthy change, especially when you add children into the mix. So I'll give you an example. I was an older mother. I had my child at 41. Oh my goodness.
I have the biggest smile on my face right now.
Oh my goodness. First of all, you go through being a geriatric pregnancy, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm 41. I'm not geriatric. But you have had your career. I was running an office. I wasn't teaching at that time, or teaching full time. I was teaching part time, but I ran an office. I had a secretary. I had a day timer. Everything was on appointments. And those magazines said the baby was going to sleep 16 hours a day. I didn't know it was at 5 minutes at a time. So it was very hard. So I started working with first-time older mothers, because it was such an upheaval. The fact that if I had a shower in a day was a real luxury was totally foreign to me. totally foreign. Just, I thought I was going to finish my dissertation, all 5 chapters, on maternity leave. That was the mindset. Having a child changes your whole life. It may cause a parent to rethink their career.
Yeah.
I just saw an essay online, it was on social media, on Threads. I found the Threads, where it was a father who left a very demanding job, but it was his dream job. He left because he was asleep when his kids woke up. They went to school. He was not home. He would come home and the kids would be asleep. So he never saw his children. And so he gave up his dream job because really his dream job was to be a parent. And so that's what I think it does to parents, is that when you have that child, and it is a privilege, I have to say it's a privilege to be able to rethink your career and how you're going to manage it. This is the purpose in life, is your children, because that is your legacy. That's moving forward. It's so exciting. My son is grown now. So exciting to see him take risk and chances. It's exciting. And to see what he's learned from us and is moving that forward too is also really exciting. So parenting is hard, and you have to put the effort in. If you can put all that effort in before the age of 6, for 6 years, which is such a little bit of time of a child, you put a lot of effort in of being consistent and being present and being there. It'll be so much easier when they're 13, they're 16, they're 21. And it's such a small snapshot of time. So you may need to not go out every Friday night and Saturday night. You may need to nest at home more. You may need to change some of your working hours. But what's important is you're creating your family unit. And that will last forever. Jobs don't last forever. Careers don't last forever. Parenting's hard, but it's a wonderful hard.
I'm having 2 questions. One, I'm going to save for the next question. Share with me a little bit about being in a family system that's hard, and what can you do to help repair your family system? And I guess I'm thinking of, like, with siblings, for example. So maybe not raising children, not your nuclear family, but the family of origin. What thoughts do you have around that?
Right. Let me say this, because I wanted to say this before and I forgot, so I don't want to forget again about relationships. And you just reminded me, it's the repair. That's the key. The ability to rupture, have a disagreement or a falling out, or a child falling down on the floor screaming in a temper tantrum. The ability for those two to come back together and repair the relationship is key. That's a healthy relationship. So if you have people that say, we never argue, that's curious. Let's talk more about that. So the ability to always come back together and repair the relationship, that is key. So if you look at a family system, and I encourage everybody to do a genogram with their partner, and not a family tree, but look at relationship patterns, career patterns, all different kinds of things. And then look at yourself. And are there things that you want to make sure that you pass on? Or are there things that you want to say, this stops here. This is not something I want to move forward in our family. So how am I going to do it? So if you look around, you can find people that have either stopped it already on their family side. And how did they do that? Or they've continued something very successful. How did they do that? So we can learn so much from our siblings, our aunts, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. Even if they're not alive, it's treasuring the photos, the letters, anything that you can find of them, because the photos will show you what they did for fun. when did they take those photos? Who was there in the picture? And can help you understand your family history. Gathering stories, talking with the elders in your family is also really valuable. They can share. I think there's two parts. If you've been abused by siblings or parent or grandparent in your family, it is perfectly okay to not repair that relationship if it's going to be too difficult and the other person isn't willing to repair in reciprocity. That's okay. You can create a new family. Family is just people who want to be together and support each other with unconditional love. That can be a family member. But if they haven't, and you're estranged, and there hasn't been that abuse, then if there's a way to start reaching out, be the person that extends the hand and reach out so that you can start talking again, because family is pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
And they can be there for you. Your friends can be there for you as well, but family can really be a cementing block. So I think doing a family genogram can help you see, who do I maybe need to reach out to? Or who is there that I know I can always reach out to? Something happens, this is the person I'm going to call, because they always know how to make things better.
Yeah.
So having that and sharing it with your partner. It's also interesting too, you can see similar patterns often with your partner that would have never stood out to you before. But when you look at it, when you're drawing your genogram, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. So that's what, in family therapy in the master's program, it's always a key assignment to have the students do their genogram. So as faculty, we usually do ours to demonstrate. So it's always a fun activity because there's so many aha moments that people have about their families.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Well, it gave me so much more that I think it's good. I think about that connection. I'm curious about, spirituality, and if family continues beyond like this life. I don't even know if that's something or not, or I don't know, but it's of note because I'm going to say it because it came up in my mind, and I want this to be a space where, I'm just being curious. And I think about the power behind extending a hand to someone who might be the hardest person to reach out to, and you do it anyway.
Right.
You do it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think your family is always there, whether it's just in your mind or whether there really is something there. I know I constantly seek my father's advice. And I knew him well, and he knew me well. But so I do know if I ask him a question, what would he say?
Oh.
So then I can get his advice, and we'll make fun. I always say my family, everyone, they're all past. My family's past, but I always joke with my husband that my family, like, except for my dad, my dad is past, but my mother, my brother, and sister liked my husband better than me. So my husband will have like, did you hear that noise? I'll be like, no, it's just my sister. She's so we joke around that my family rambles around the house.
Oh, I love that. I love that because then you don't have to question, is that true or not true? I just like the idea of they're there. So whatever that means or looks like, their presence
it's different
is
for
there.
each person,
Yeah.
Like, do you hear the voices in your head or outside your head?
Wait, that's a different podcast. No.
Right.
Your family members have passed. That's one thing that I imagine was very hard. I do believe that we grow and gain out of difficulties. What have you maybe gained out of some of the challenges that you've had in your own life?
Yeah, so that's a good question. What I really learned is that things happen for a reason. We don't know what it is at the time, and we have to keep working to figure it out. And so I think that knowledge has made me a very determined and persistent person. Sometimes I describe myself as a dog with a bone. I'm just not going to give it up. And so an example, my father passed away very suddenly. No, not expected. He was in good health very suddenly. And it really threw the family into upheaval because he was the stable parent. And then my brother passed it was just about a year after. And then a year later, my sister passed.
Oh my goodness.
Now, my father had a heart attack. So it was natural causes. My brother and sister were alcoholics and substance abusers. Very successful alcoholics and substance abusers. My sister had an EDD and very credentialed, and my brother was an artist. But my mother taught the family to drink. And so they both passed from alcoholic cirrhosis. And my stepmother said to me after my sister passed, my stepmother said, "Now I know why your dad had to die." And I was really taken aback. I'm like, "What? What?" She said, "Because seeing his children die would have killed him. So he needed to go first." And she's a very spiritual woman. And I thought that makes total sense to me.
Mm.
So whether you're spiritual or not, it's when you've had a challenge, trying to make sense of it in a way that works for you can help you process that experience. So another experience I had, I was on the COAMT, the Commission on Marriage and Family Therapy, Commission on Accreditation of Marriage and Family Therapy, COAMT Commission for 3 years. I ran twice and did not get elected, which is, it's your peers and you didn't get elected. And so it was hard. And then my third time, and I joked I was going to be the Susan Lucci of COAMT elections and keep running until I finally got on. So I was elected the third time, and I realized it made perfect sense because the standards were being revised, and being an online educator, it was important to have an online educator on the commission.
Oh my goodness.
So if I had been elected the first time, I wouldn't have been able to make a difference.
Oh, wow.
And I think bringing some of what we do and how we do it in our work, I think made a difference for helping others who were just new. This was pre-COVID, new to online education, help them understand what made sense and what didn't make sense. So it made sense. I had to lose twice. It humbles you, but I got on the third time and became the chair. So
oh, you're like that dog with a bone, right?
I'm a dog with a bone. I'm a dog with a bone.
Go.
And so I think that's it. Just have determination. I tell the students that I mentor when they get frustrated, you have to be determined. It's your determination. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not, but I'm determined. So I've been published. I've written book chapters, articles, not because I'm a rocket scientist. Because I'm determined that this is what I want to do. So that's what I learned from my challenges.
And willing to do the hard work. I mean, that has come through in this conversation a few times. It's like you got to put in the effort and the work and not walk away from things or relationships when they get hard.
Right. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk. You can't just look pretty.
Yeah.
It's not going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. One of my friends' father, it was kind of a friend that helped raise me. And so thereby her parents kind of became my parents,
Right.
And I remember him one time when I was a young adult, and he said, I think I could have ended up with a lot of different partners. And he was talking about his wife. He said, I think you can end up with a lot of different people as long as you're determined to make it work. Mm-hmm. And I was so struck by that because I was kind of looking for that one and only, or the lightning struck and I met my future spouse, but it kind of opened my mind up to maybe things could work out with many different people and you can still find fulfillment in that life. I'm
Right.
curious, does that resonate for you, or do you feel like, no, that's all wrong?
No, I think that's exactly it. And it's almost like the folks that are, the grass is always greener on the other side. If you're waiting for the lightning bolt to strike, you're waiting for the beautiful green grass that everything's going to be perfect, you'll never find it. You'll never find it. So you have to make it work yourself. So I had one of my first clients was a woman who had just gotten out of prison, and she had been an addict for a long time. She was in prison for about 15 years. And I was working with her, and she was kind of struggling because her crowd she was running with, there were a lot of substance users. And we were talking about it. And she said, you're always chasing your first high. It's so good and so great, and it's never that way again. And that's kind of like that green grass. Oh, if I get a job at this place, it'll be so wonderful. If I marry that person, it'll be so great. If I do this, if I live here, it'll be what, and it never is, because we have to decide to make it work. And like you said, roll our sleeves up, put in the hard work, and get it done.
Beautifully said. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I have like little goosebumps.
Oh.
All right. So we've sort of tapped on this or touched around this a tiny bit. I am curious about the roles of serendipity or coincidences in your life, and how have those maybe touched your life?
I think I think of it as opportunities, and every day there's opportunities all around us, and we have to be able to see them to take advantage of them. So that's what I've learned at times where I think everything is just a jumble, it's not going well. I have to take a breath and start looking for opportunity, because it's there. I just am not seeing it. So that's like Insoo Kim Berg, who founded Solution Focused Brief Therapy with Steve DeShazer, her husband, would say there's miracles all around. Miracles happen every day. And that's the basis of the theory, is that what the change the client wants is already happening. They're just not noticing it because it's not happening as much as they would like it to happen. And so opportunities are there. She would say, look around, there's miracles all around you. Opportunities are there. We just are not looking for them, because sometimes we think they're going to hit us in the face. They're going to call on the phone. Again, we've got to put the work in. You get out of life what you put into it. So if you say, today I'm going to look for opportunity, you might have to pick up some bushes and look around, but you can find some. So that's what I learned. And then you find more than one opportunity. And it's wonderful to be able to choose. Okay, am I going to go down this path or that path? Okay, I think that one. How wonderful to have the ability to choose a path. So, and opportunities, what looks like an opportunity to me might not look like an opportunity to you. So they're very specific. So we have to kind of think about what we're looking for. And that's also being self-aware. So I think that's part of it. I always, when I ask my clients what has to be different, and they'll say, well, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this. Okay, so what is it that you do want? I don't know. If we know what we don't want, we do know what we do want. Right. It's shifting our brain to think a little differently so that we can put that into words. It's a little scary sometimes, because once you actually put that thought into words that come out of your mouth, then it's real. So it's understanding what it is that you want as a person, for yourself, for your family, for others around you, and how much you're willing to work for that, and where to go to work for that.
And I think having the courage to accept the gift or accept the opportunity, to see it, and then to trust and follow that.
Right. To trust. Yeah. Trust the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Thank you so much, Dr. Messmore. Truly.
Oh, thank
So
you.
touching.
This has been a wonderful chat with you. We don't get to do this as often as we should, I think.
I know all of these insights. Thank you so much for sharing them. And, until we connect again, let's keep moving forward and connecting with people. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that was fun.
Until next time, thanks for listening to Wisdom Over Time. This is your host, Dr. Catherine Van Osselt, and please share this episode with whomever you think will get a little bit of joy from our conversation. Keeping connections is what life is all about.